Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to A Simple Southern Life. My name is Keisha, and I am going to whip up some enchiladas for lunch. So I thought I'd bring you guys along and show you how I make a lunch and also how I make some freezer meals. These Corningware dishes are great because they have lids, and you can freeze them in these, and then you can take them out and you can either pop them in the oven or the microwave or whichever you like. And then you have a nice little freezer meal for one, and you know exactly what's inside of it, and you don't have to worry about chemicals and stuff. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be making some enchiladas, and I'm going to be using the onions that I grew in my garden, those really big onions that you guys may have seen on my Instagram page. I have chopped some of those up, and I put some green onions in there. I am actually using store-bought Hatch chili enchilada sauce. Once my poblano peppers and some of my other peppers come in, I'm going to be making my own enchilada sauce. But we're not doing that today. I just wanted to make a quick lunch for the family. And then I'm also going to be making some Mexican rice. So I have got, this is my little cheater that I like to use. This is Mia Rose. This is a Knorr seasoning packet. And then I like to add a little more tomato sauce. And then just for extra veggies, I like to add some peas and carrots into mine, but you can do it without the vegetables if you like. And then I'm doing also some black beans. You can do, if you want to cook your own black beans and do that, but today I'm just making it quick and easy. So I thought I'd bring you guys along and show you. These are going to be cheese enchiladas. So the first thing we're going to do is
So here, what I'm doing is just adding some olive oil to the pan, and I am frying up some tortillas. It's not really to make them crispy, but it just helps to make them more soft and pliable, and that way you can work with them when you get ready to roll out your enchiladas.
okay. So now we turn off the heat. Now that we've got all of our tortillas fried up, we are going to go ahead and roll our enchiladas. So I'm gonna put some Hatch green chili sauce, enchilada sauce, because I prefer the green sauce, but you could definitely do this with red sauce as well, if that's what you prefer. I'm doing cheese and green chili enchiladas. So I also got some chopped green chilies. These are mild, because we prefer them mild in my family. And then I'm gonna be adding in some green onions, just for a little extra flavor, and because we want to use up what we have from the garden. All right. So what you're going to do now is you're going to roll your enchiladas. So this is the way I do it because I think this is easiest. I just pour a little sauce in the pan. Okay. And then I roll it around. And then you're going to take your enchilada tortilla and stick it in there. I'm going to add in the cheese. Now, if you were doing like chicken or a mixture of meat, you would want to mix this all together, and then you can just spoon your meat into there. So then I'm going to spoon some green chilies right inside of there, and then a little bit of green onion. Okay, and then you're going to roll and just leave it in place like that. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that process for each of our enchiladas here. It's kind of like a little assembly line.
So here I am here just going ahead and finishing assembling all the enchiladas and getting them rolled out and placed nicely inside the dish.
If I was just doing the individual enchiladas, I would do the air fryer. But because I'm doing a big pan of them, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it this way. But yeah, that's definitely a good tip in the summer is if you want enchiladas, but you don't want to use your oven, is pull out that air fryer and put that baby to work. I love my air fryer. I do a lot of air fryer meals. And I do have another can of green chilies, so we will get that opened up here. I'll finish off this pan, and then we will do the individual. I'll show you how I let me get that other can. That chili's going here. Okay, so before we start with the individual containers, now that you've got these all assembled, you're gonna take some more of this yummy sauce and you're just going to pour it all over. So you've got them all nice and covered here. Okay. Like that. And then I'm gonna take another layer of our shredded cheese. I'm gonna garnish the top. And these are gonna be so yummy. Ugh. This is like one of my favorite things. And then I'll garnish it with some more green onions here on top. And believe me, I've got plenty of these green onions. These grew in my garden and they were massive. So I'll chop up some more of those as we make the small ones. And then what I like to do is to garnish it with also some sliced black olives. So I'm gonna drain these off. And we are just going to garnish those right on top. Just like that. Delicious. Okay, now this is going to go into a 400-degree oven. But before we put these in the oven, we're gonna get our individuals ready. Do is I love these Corningware that can go, these can go on the stovetop, these can go on the oven. These are like one of my favorite things. I like the ones with the lids. So now we're going to make our individual servings so we can have our freezer meals. And I actually have twins that just graduated high school. And so I have been collecting these Corningware dishes everywhere that I can find them because I'm planning to, on the channel here, I'll bring you guys along with me. I'm gonna make freezer meals for them to take off to college with them, and they can just put these in their little, these are perfect for individual freezer size. They can just put them in the freezer, and then they will have a home cooked meal for mom that they can pull out and pop in the microwave or the air fryer, because I've been told that air fryers are better for college dorms. So now we're just going to get our sauce on the bottom of these. Move this all around like this. And these ones probably won't last until August when they go off to school, but that's okay because we can always make more. These will be good summer meals for while they're here at home. They can just pull one of these out. We've got lunch in a jiffy, or dinner. So we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do this like assembly line style. Layer in our cheese first. Oh, and I need to chop up some more of those green onions. So let me get some more of these chopped up. Already pre-washed and rinsed that I had chopped up and put in my fridge. And I'm going to freeze some of these so they can last. Just look at the size of these. These are huge. These came out of the garden. And they smell amazing. I wish you guys could smell these. It's the first year that I grew green onions, so I was really excited about these. Definitely be growing these again next year. Also, one thing I like to do too is when you buy your store-bought green onions, is you can, as you use the tops of these, you can get a little mason jar and put water in it and put it on your windowsill, and they will keep regrowing. And then you have green onions for weeks. And then just make sure you change out the water every other day or so, because they tend to get a little slimy if you don't. Layer in some green onions. And layer in some chilies. This already smells amazing, and it's not even cooked yet. This is a great meal if you're vegetarian and looking for vegetarian options. All right. I'm gonna roll that, place it to the side. And then we're gonna do the same thing. So then they have a 2 enchilada meal. All right. Some chilies. Green onions. Some more enchilada sauce. And I like to be liberal with my sauce because I like mine to have that yummy, saucy goodness. My enchiladas. And because I got a little bit of chilies here that I don't want to go to waste, sprinkle those on here. That's just gonna add to the flavor. It's gonna be delicious. And you guys can add whatever, you know, toppings and stuff that you like. Recipes to me are just a suggestion. I always do my own thing with them. Oops. Get a little bit more cheese from the fridge. That's the best thing about cooking from scratch, cooking at home. You know exactly what's in your food. Now, it'll be even better when we make our own enchilada sauce. If you guys want to see me do that, you're going to have to subscribe to the channel because that is coming later on in the season. Just waiting for my chilies to come in. And then I'm going to be making all kinds of condiments. We'll be doing some enchilada sauce and some ketchup and tomato sauce, all kinds of good stuff. My tomatoes are starting to come in, so that's gonna be really good when that's all said and done. Okay, sprinkle these on top. So all of these are going to go into our preheated oven, which we have preheated to 400 degrees. And those are going to cook for about 30 minutes. Just so everything is nice and cooked together and the cheese is nice and brown and a little crispy on top.
So one thing here is that I forgot to cover these. So you will later on in the video see me go through and cover these over with foil for the little ones. And I have a top that I put on top of the big dish and then cook them in the preheated oven for about 30 minutes. And then you'll take off the top during the last 5 minutes to get the cheese nice and crispy on top. Here is I'm getting the rice ready to get started. So I'm putting some oil in the pan here and getting it ready to saute in some garlic.
Just get that oil heated up in the skillet. And then I just have some minced garlic here. And I like mine garlicky. So I'm gonna put 2 teaspoons of that in there. And I'm going to take my wooden spatula. Just gonna saute that a little bit. Let the oil get warm and the garlic kind of flavor the oil for a minute or two. Now, the reason why I like avocado oil, you can use olive oil, is avocado oil has a higher smoke point, so you are less likely to burn your garlic if you do that. Okay, and I'm just gonna let that go for a second, and while that's going, I'm gonna get 1.5 cups of white rice. And this will not take long at all, so you have to kind of work quickly. It's 1.5 cups. And I'm gonna give my garlic another stir. I ground up and flavorful, but it's not quite there yet. So then what I'm gonna do is give my rice a good rinse. Make sure that you're rinsing your rice because rice is like really yucky. So I always rinse my rice. Some people skip this step, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. Just try to drain off the water real quick. Okay. And then we are going to bring this back over to the stove and add that in. And then we're going to saute that rice up with the garlic. And then your rice is going to have that nice garlicky flavor. We're just going to get the rice nice and brown. You might have to turn the heat down a little bit to medium. You don't want it to burn, but you want it to be nice and browned up and kind of fried. I'm going to add just a little bit more avocado oil just to brown that up a little bit. As you can see, the garlic is nice and crispy and brown in there. And that's how, oops.
So then what you'll see me doing here is sauteing my rice in the olive oil and making sure that it doesn't stick to the pan, so it can be nice and golden before we go ahead and add in our tomato sauce and our other seasoning packets.
Okay. Just kind of like saute that in, just to kind of like wake up the spices a little bit. Once they're heated up, it kind of brings the spices to life. Okay, and then when that is mixed in, you're gonna get 3 cups of water. Let me get my measuring cup. Get 3 cups of water. But before I add the 3 cups of water, what I do to give it extra flavor, just gonna add a little bit of water, just so nothing burns or sticks. Okay? And then I'm gonna take my tomato sauce, open that up. Now, if you don't want the veggies in your rice, then you can just add the water at this point. But for me, I want to have a little bit of veggies in there just for the extra extra nutrition. So I'm gonna take a can of peas and carrots and just dump those in there. Now, if you don't have the Sazon flavor packet, you can also use chicken bouillon. Sometimes I use that if I don't have any of the flavoring. Okay, just gonna mix those in really good. Some people just add carrots. Some people don't add any veggies at all. Totally your preference. Okay, and now we're gonna add 3 cups of water. Okay. We're gonna bring this to a boil. And then once it's boiling, we're gonna turn it down and simmer it until all the liquid cooks off. And you need to check your rice because, you know, everybody's stove is a little bit different. If the liquid cooks off and it's still crunchy, then go ahead and just add about a 1/4 cup more water. Okay, you want your rice to be fluffy and not crunchy. So we're gonna bring that to a boil. And then once it's boiling, we'll cover it and then we'll let it cook down.
So now what I'm doing here is I've opened up a can of the black beans and I'm rinsing all of that liquid that comes with them off because that liquid is really high in sodium and I don't want that extra sodium in my beans. And then I'm taking some bouillon and I'm flavoring the beans with bouillon because it gives it lots of flavor and it's a great way to season your beans. You can use this on pinto beans or any other type of beans. And what you see here is just me cleaning up and tidying the kitchen and getting ready while I'm waiting for everything to finish up and be done. And then you see me get that foil out that I mentioned earlier in the video, and I just go ahead and put foil on all of the small little ramekins and I cover up the big dish so that things won't dry out while they are cooking in the oven. Typically, you want to do this at the start of it, and then you'll take off the covers during the last 5 to 10 minutes to crisp up the edges.
Give it a good stir.
And so here everything is that's just came out of the oven and it's cooling off and everything looks great. Nice and bubbly edges. The beans are done and the rice is looking great.
Okay, so now that those are all done baking, I've got the individual ones here and the rice, it's all done. And then we've got our black beans. So this is the way that I finish them up. You can actually, if you want to have these be a complete dinner, you could take some of the rice and beans and you could just add it right in. So you have your main dish and you have your sides. And then you can just finish it off. And when this is cool, I'm going to put the lids on it and I'm going to put a little label on it so that they know what's in there. And for the main meal, I'll show you how I finish these up. So these have been cooling down a little bit. And I just scoop those up. Slide those on a plate, and then I like to garnish it with a dollop of sour cream. I chopped up some fresh cilantro because I love cilantro. A couple more olives and onions. And then I have some avocado that I need to use up. So we'll just stick that on top. And then we'll serve it with some rice. This rice smells amazing. And some black beans. Now for the rice, I did end up adding just a little bit of salt and pepper. And also some Sazon. the Goya Perfect Seasoning. Let me show you. I did add a little bit of this, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper to the rice, and that just finished it off beautifully. And then I'm going to just, for the beans, sprinkle a little bit of cheese on there. And that's it. So thanks for coming along while I showed you guys how we can make a whole meal, as well as some freezer dishes that'll last about 2 to 3 months in the freezer in only about 30 minutes or so.